Eagles Talk, A2D Radio. We got offensive draft prospects. We got Dallas Goedert trade. We got Bowen on the Birds. And, of course, we have your comments. Eagles Talk, A2D Radio starts right now.
You love the Eagles, let me get a hell yeah! You love the Philadelphia Eagles, let me get a hell yeah!
All right, everybody, welcome in. This is Eagles Talk, A2D Radio. Rob Brinkman, Peter Young, Les Bowen on the Birds, beyond just a little bit. We are broadcasting live from the Real Talk Studios. If you haven't already, hit that like, hit that subscribe, turn those notifications on. Each and every Monday, we are brought to you by Baggio's Breads. Let's see if I can find it. Baggio's Breads right there in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, home of the best stuffed breads, tomato pies, sandwiches, cutlets, and meatballs. Mention A2D Radio. 10% off your in-store purchase. Tell them Eagles Talk, Final Whistle, A2D Radio. Go on over there. See them at Baggio's Breads. Get your 10% off. Find us wherever you get your podcast, Spreaker, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio, iTunes. And we are live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, X, and Instagram. Draft season, a lot of people's favorite time of year. Everyone gets
the best time.
Little armchair GM action, draft, scout action. Yeah, a lot of people really like it. We're talking about the offense. We're talking about Dallas Goedert. And like I mentioned, we have Les Bowen will join us in a few minutes here. But let's bring us to our poll question, Mr. Pete. Poll question: Eagles should employ an offensive draft strategy come the end of the month. What say you?
So I don't agree. Like, I think there are options in the draft for offense. Like, you have a lot of the Ohio State wide receivers that are very good. Like, you're going to need a guard because I don't think they're 100% sold on Tyler Steen. They lost Mekhi Becton in free agency, which sucks, but I think he was past their price point. And they went out and they got Kenyon Green in a throwaway trade to get rid of CJGJ, which he could be something, but I'm not 100% sold on him. So you could do that. And the whole ebb and flow situation with Dallas Goedert is you could make an argument for, well, maybe we need to focus on guard and tight end to replace those positions, but it's not something I'm 100% sold on. Like, I like a lot of prospects in this first round. Like, Tyler Warren's really good. Colston Loveland. Mason Tyler is really good. Like, so there are options, but like, I don't think I need those guys. Like, I think while I love Dallas Goedert and I like what he brings to the table, I think it's clear the Eagles believe that due to his injury history, his age, and how often he can stay on the field, that they could get the Dallas Goedert production from Harrison Bryant, from Grant Calcaterra, from the guy they signed from Indianapolis. Like, so that kind of says a lot. Like, I think if Dallas Goedert wasn't as hurt as often, I think this would be a discussion for an extension. And I probably would extend him, but it's clear they don't view him in the same way the Eagles fans view him. But also, they're cutting corners with price tags right now. So while I understand there is a need to go out and get those replacements, I don't think those replacements are coming in like the first round. Like, I don't think there's a need to draft a tight end in the first round. I don't think there's a need to draft a guard in the first round just because you're missing those pieces. I think throughout the draft, they're going to handle those situations because if you look at who they're bringing in good offensive lineman prospects. So probably in rounds 2 through 3, they'll probably draft one. If a really good tight end falls to them at 32, yeah, I could see them drafting them. I also think they trade Dallas Goedert. Like, I think if there is a tight end needy team in the draft, or if you're throwing him in there to kind of sweeten the pot to move down or even move up, it's going to help you. Like, The Browns make a lot of sense because they're probably drafting a young quarterback, and you're going to need more weapons to stabilize that garbage truck of an offense down in Cleveland. Another team that makes a lot of sense is the Bills. They're going all in. They're doing everything they can to get themselves over the hump and to get themselves past the Kansas City Invitational and get to the Super Bowl. Getting a surefire weapon like Dallas Goedert with Josh Allen could help put that offense over the hump and get it to the next level. So,
what do you think Dallas Goedert brings you back in a trade?
I think the worst is probably a 5th round pick. The most is probably a 3rd round pick. The only way Dallas Goedert is here is if he's willing to take a pay cut. It's the same thing with CJGJ. While I wasn't in a rush to move him, it's clear they're trying to save a little bit of money heading into next year. Next year is where they care because you're going to have 12 plus draft picks. You're going to have close to $60 million. You're going to be able to sign some big names, and you're going to be able to extend your own guys. If you're not willing to play ball, if you're not willing to help out the Eagles, you're not here. It's a professional business. We shake hands. Thank you for your service. The door is that way.
I would have a hard time letting Dallas Goedert go for a 5th round pick.
Again, I understand that. I'm not even a Dallas Goedert guy, and I'm saying I don't want to trade him for a 5th round pick. But if you're Dallas Goedert and you're asking for a big extension, or like I would do an extension right now if it lowers his cap hit heading into next season. But I also understand their thought process, it being, hey, this is a very good and deep tight end draft. They could go get someone who's really good. Another one who makes sense is, I think it's Harold Faming, or if I'm saying his name incorrectly. He goes to the same school where our offensive coordinator was a head coach at. So I think it's Bowling Green, right?
Yes. Patullo coached Bowling Green, pretty sure.
So like there's ties to there. Like there's a lot of depth in this class. And I think the Eagles view this as we can get younger and we can get cheaper over the next 4 or 5 years.
Younger and cheaper. That sounds like sexy and cool and all.
Yeah.
But you're going to get worse.
And I think they understand that. I think they probably view it as we have the best offensive line in football. We have 2 top 10 wide receivers. Where he stands right now, you probably have a top 5 quarterback. You have a top 3 running back in the NFL. You have to cut costs somewhere. And where they're viewing cutting cost is at guard. You don't need a guard that makes top 5 in the market. And Dallas Goedert is similar to the age that Zach Ertz was when they were trying to get rid of him. The difference is Zach Ertz could stay healthy, and Zach Ertz was 1,000 yards a year tight end. He wasn't blocking like Dallas Goedert, but he was a better offensive weapon. And we can talk about Yak all we want.
No Yak Zach.
I'll take no Yak Zach at his height is better than Goedert has ever been. Every year since he's been drafted, Dallas Goedert, it's his breakout season, all right? Eventually, you have to show it. Like, you have to hit that next level eventually. I like Dallas Goedert. I think he's a very good player. But when you're hurt all the time, when you can't hit 1,000 yards, when you're not available like they want you to be,
1,000-yard thing, that's not fair.
It's I guess it's not, but like I need more. Like Dallas Goedert always leaves you wanting more.
Are they going to start using 2 footballs at the next year at these owner meetings? They're going to put another football on the field?
Sure, why not? I'm on board with that.
The Eagles. All right, let's bring in Les Bowen for Bowen on the Birds.
The Birds.
Mr. Les Bowen.
The Bowen.
How we doing?
What's up, Les?
Joining us tonight, sir. There you go. Thank you for the grammar check on my poll question. Appreciate
No
it.
problem.
But
Looking
there
out for
is so we're talking draft. We're talking offensive draft. We kind of stumbled upon get Dallas Goedert. We're going to get to the comments. Everybody loves draft time. But we're going to do offense this week. So there's our poll question. The Eagles should employ an offensive draft strategy. Agree or disagree?
You mean they should the draft should be primarily offensive?
Correct.
No, I disagree there. In fact, the main thing I want to see is an edge rusher,
Defense.
probably. After that, I want to see a safety. Probably be my second. I mean, you can't really. I wouldn't do the draft like that. I mean, I believe in best player available in many cases, but what you're looking to come out of this with, the overall would be an edge rusher and a safety, certainly, before any offensive player. Now, the Eagles being the Eagles, I wouldn't be shocked if their first pick was an offensive tackle, and they've had a lot of success doing it that way, and it wouldn't kill me if they did it that way, as long as they got those other things somehow. But no, I don't think they should be looking primarily offense in this draft at all. I don't quite see that. I don't know what they would target, really, other than an offensive lineman to shore up things. They certainly don't have an immediate need at wide receiver. You were talking about Dallas Goedert when I came in, and that's obvious. That's something that, the first pick could be a tight end, certainly.
Tight end.
I still hope, and there's no chance. Well, I don't say no chance. There's very little chance of this happening. But what really needs to happen here is for Dallas Goedert, for them to redo Dallas Goedert's contract.
Yep.
And have him make a lot less money this year than the $15 million or whatever.
Take a pay cut, and you're not going anywhere, man.
The problem, from his standpoint, I think he has to look at it as, okay, if I go out on the market, what am I going to get? And I don't have a good answer to that, but it's not going to be 15-something million a year.
I don't even think it's 10.
With his injury history, I just think he's in a tough spot, getting another contract. Maybe his agent knows better. Maybe there's a team out there that really values Dallas Goedert and can hardly wait to get their hands on him. But I wouldn't see that as something that, seems very likely to me. So, the draft overall, I would not tilt it toward offense, but certainly the top pick could be an offensive player, probably an offensive lineman or a tight end. I'd be shocked if it was a quarterback or even a running back. And I'd be a little surprised if it was a wide receiver, frankly, depending on where they end up drafting. No, I would not skew the draft toward offense at all.
It's I don't know. This Dallas Goedert thing is it's very strange. Not strange.
Well,
it's not though.
Strange. It seems strange from the surface because he's a good player. He's under contract. He's been with you. You drafted him. You believed in him. You traded away Zach Ertz to keep Dallas Goedert. But Pete was right. Pete's a little bit stronger on this than I am, but Pete's right. He hasn't quite been the guy that you thought he was going to be when you drafted him and when you got rid of Zach Ertz. You kept thinking you were going to have this Kittle, Kelsey type tight end, and you haven't had that. I think part of that is Jalen Hurts not throwing to the tight end. Part of it is having A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. I don't think those other players, exist in that sort of framework the way Dallas Goedert does. But it's just a matter of you're paying $15.5 million for a luxury a little bit, a tight end with a high upside who has never quite hit that upside and who's often hurt. And I can see them, seeing that as an inefficiency or a place where they want to do something a little different. The danger to me is if you just get rid of him and don't get anything good back, what do you have at tight end? Then you're really looking at drafting a tight end to me, because I don't want to see Calcaterra and these two guys that they signed running out there 17 times next season.
Two things. Am I crazy, or would Dallas Goedert, like if AJ Brown and Devontae Smith like aren't here, like Dallas Goedert gets 1,000 yards for almost any other team?
Probably if he's healthy enough.
Yeah, if he stays healthy, 100%.
Yeah.
I don't know. You got the Texans down there. They got C.J. Gardner-Johnson for a 5th-round pick. And now Peter's here telling me that some team like the Buffalo Bills or whoever is going to get Dallas Goedert for a 5th-round pick.
Worst case scenario. That's
two really good players that
I agree with you. I agree with you.
Only 5th-round picks are coming back.
Yeah. And the small money thing is, I think I talked about this last week. I mean, they're really looking at the cap a couple years down the road. And you have to look at it a couple years down the road, but you can't get too caught up in that and who you're going to be extending 2 years from now. Who the hell knows? One of these guys, a couple of these guys could get hurt. Maybe one or two of them doesn't turn out to be what they look like right now. Assuming that you're going to be paying people X amount 2 years from now doesn't do a whole lot for me. I know Howie Roseman's smarter about this stuff than I am, certainly, but it isn't a strategy that I can really fully embrace wholeheartedly. Does anyone feel differently about that?
I'm with you 100%.
Like 2 years, I just don't even think it's 2 years down the road. Like I think it's next offseason, because I think they're viewing next season as this year's whatever we do is gravy, okay?
Yeah.
And if we win a playoff game, we're okay. Because 2026 is where they're going to be going like all in again. Because you're going to have $60+ million. You're going to have 12+ draft picks. I'll wager right now they'll probably head into the 2026 draft with 15 draft picks, because I 100% see them move pieces around this year to move things into 2026.
Why do we need that many?
I'm not saying that you need that many picks, but you can spread them over 2 years. Also, if there's a
bunch of picks in that draft doesn't make you all in to win the Super Bowl that season. I mean, it's not like you're going to draft a bunch of guys who are going to play a lot for a Super Bowl contending team. You could use some of those picks in trades. You could trade for another AJ Brown.
But I also think that's another big thing, is where you're going to have money, you're going to have cap flexibility, and you can use those picks to go get a difference maker, to go get a big-time player.
That I agree with. Yes. But I don't think you're going to draft a bunch of people that are going to.
No, I don't think so. But I think they want to, heading into 2026, I think they want to have as many draft picks as possible.
Yeah.
So that they can do whatever they want.
Yeah, I'll go along with that.
All right, let's get to some comments here. We got Wayne the Pain. Go Birds.
Go Birds.
Too many exits from defense. So
I agree. Yeah, that's where they've lost the most starters for sure.
It seems like there's a couple really good safeties at the top of the board, but then it kind of falls off.
Yeah.
Seems like it's
edge. But that's a tough position, safety, in the draft. I mean, a lot of positions are tough, but I think that is one of the tougher positions to evaluate. It's very different, I think, in college than it is in the NFL.
Fair. Greg Miller, he loves the draft. Greg Miller loves the draft. I have complete confidence in Vic Fangio and Jeff Stoughton, and it's amazing how these guys can coach and develop players. Just amazing.
That's facts.
Greg is all caps confident.
All caps.
There you go.
That's confident.
I mean,
I don't even know what some of those emojis mean. What?
We got the football one. We got the star face one. We got the diamond.
Now, what's the
one.
second from the right there? What the hell is that?
Is that the diamond?
Yeah, it's a diamond.
Oh, a diamond. Okay.
Diamond in the rough come draft season. Coaching matters. Of course it does, but you need good players.
Yeah, you can't. I also have confidence in these guys, and I think they're both amazing coaches, but I think you can get carried away. I don't think they make mediocre players into great players. I think they help great players become great, and they make decent players into better players. But there are limits. There's Ryan.
I think all right, we won the Super Bowl after having a top passing run from a good enough coverage and pass rush. 22, having the best pass rush and nearly setting a season sack record with a horrible pass rush and pass defense cost them big time.
True.
Well, also having a field that nobody could move on also played a big part.
It did, but the premise is correct. You have to be able to. You have to have the back end as well.
I think it kind of just shows that the back end is more important.
Yeah,
I think today it is.
I think it's almost. I think it's pretty equal. It's more equal than it's been in a long time.
Yeah,
but I don't think the pressure they got in the Super Bowl was incredible, and that was a huge part of that game. I think if they'd have let Patrick Mahomes run around back there and find people downfield and stuff, I think that would have been a very different game. I don't think you can cover forever, against a quarterback like that.
No.
But yeah, they didn't have that kind of pass rush most of the season, and they did okay.
Greg Miller. Don't know what teams are getting. Jalen Walker, Jahad Campbell, but those teams just got way better defensively. So he likes.
Well, those are two really good prospects, and when you add a good prospect, your team does get better, Greg. That is the point of the draft.
Well, let's not dunk on poor Greg here. He's
that's not dunking, but like you have. Anytime you draft one of these guys in the top 32, clearly your team gets a little better.
Yeah, well, unless they're bust. But I think Greg is saying he likes those two prospects. I do too. I like them as well.
It'll be interesting to see how the Nakobe Dean factor.
Yeah,
I agree.
I just don't. I've said this before. Mid-season at best, and it might be the end of the year before he's really back to where he was physically.
Yeah.
I hope not. I hope I'm wrong.
Maybe they'll throw me for a loop, and they'll be like, "We're going to draft a linebacker in the first round because we're not 100% sure about Nakobe Dean's health." I'd be like, I would be shocked, but
no, they're never going to do that. No.
Don't tell certain people that they'll call you foolish.
Well, I just don't see, unless they trade back into the second round or something like that. I don't see them doing that.
Maybe at 32. Maybe
they won't draft at 32. They'll either trade back into the second round or they will trade up to try to get an edge rusher. I think personally, that's just my opinion. I don't have any.
Yeah, let's go trade up and get Walter Nolan. I'd be very happy.
So tight ends or wide receivers fall if the Eagles don't move, make it hard not to draft them. Warren, Loveland at tight end, and Buka at wide receiver. Well, Warren's not going to be there. I mean, there's just no way.
No, Warren's gone by like 15.
Yeah.
That is my dream. That is my dream scenario.
That would be great if you got Tyler Warren. Yeah,
you should probably wake up.
Go pound sand.
Never gonna happen unless something.
No, you would have to trade way up. You'd have to trade way up to do that. The other guys,
Colston, I think could be there at 32.
I think I like the LSU, the Mason. What's his name? Mason Tyler.
Yep.
They were just talking about him on path to the draft. He might be better than Loveland.
Yeah, I think both are solid options.
Yeah, and I like Igbuka too. I wouldn't be looking for a wide receiver, but if a wide receiver, if your perfect slot guy is there, and he's going to play for you for a long time and be a starter. Sure, you can finesse all this other stuff. I mean,
like if
I'm very strong on if there's a difference maker at almost any position,
take him.
That's the guy you draft.
Like
you
obviously.
Say, oh gosh, we really need an edge rusher here. You know, no, you'll figure it out.
But if Kears and Walter Nolan and Mikael Williams and all those guys are gone by 32, and you don't have a clear guy to trade up for. And if you don't have a partner to trade back, and you have Mbuka there at 32,
I'd take him.
I'll take him all day.
Yes, exactly. I agree.
Bob Brinkman checking in. I would rather move up in the first round than give up some of those 15 picks.
I like moving up. I've always liked moving.
That's why you want as many picks as possible,
well.
because that's the greatness of having so many picks from last year, because you got to move up and you got to take Cooper DeJean.
Yeah.
There's Greg checking in. Harold Fannin Jr., second, third round tight end.
Yeah. Once again, that is a move that makes so much sense. I could 100% seeing them do that. I think that's a third round move. I don't think he's a second round prospect, in my opinion. But
6'3", 241.
Yep.
Bowling Green.
He's a Mike Evans-esque player in the sense that
his coach is here now. So.
Yeah, we talked about that at the top of the show, Les.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hometown Canton, Ohio.
Yeah.
Maybe, just maybe.
He's an above the rim type tight end.
Yeah.
I
love these next gen stats on NFL.
Him and Johnny Wilson could be a fun end red zone duo.
Boy, Johnny, when he dropped that pass in the Super Bowl, I was like, come on, man. I mean, they're throwing the ball to you in the Super Bowl, and you got to catch it. I'm sorry.
I know, but
it's just.
You're a rookie. Like, you're not. I feel bad for him.
Yeah.
There, and Greg pointing out Bowling Green, Patullo. He was the head coach of Bowling Green, so there's a connection there.
That's 100%.
It seems like a foregone conclusion that Dallas Goedert is like not going to be here, and they're going to have to pick a tight end at some point.
Well, unless he takes a pay cut.
Yeah. Well, I assume that his agent has indicated that's not happening, which is why they seem so definite that he's, why they talk about him the way they do. But maybe that's wrong. I mean, and maybe that changes. I think the agent has to go out and see, part of the agent's job is to find out what other teams think Dallas Goedert is worth at this point in his career. And he's got to come back to Dallas with a good assessment of that, and then you go from there. And I assume that is happening or has happened. We'll have to see. But
the worst thing with that is like obviously you want this happening sooner rather than later. Like, I would like to trade him during the draft so it's over with.
Yeah, if he's going to be gone, you want to know that before you draft anybody.
So remember with the whole Zach Ertz thing,
right?
Like that you thought that whole offseason that was happening. He wasn't gone until a trade deadline.
I know. Yeah.
So I just want to know what his agent thinks. Like, I would take the pay cut because it's either A, I stay and I take the pay cut, or B, I take the pay cut and it makes it easier for me to be traded.
Yeah.
Because at least if that happens, they're not cutting him. That's not happening. But you'll at least be on another roster. You'll either be here.
Well, presumably
take the pay cut, or
you'd be traded.
You'll be on another roster by August.
Yeah,
you don't want to be at the start of September and you're on another team. That is not good for the start of your season.
Right. Agree. Yeah.
Okay. Really, the only position that we haven't touched on is how do we feel about the running back room past Saquon Barkley? All the reports, all the mock drafts are indicating that this is a very, 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 very strong running back draft.
You can let that delude you a little bit into waiting too late, which is the famous Donnell Pumphrey conundrum. That was a year that was supposed to be a great running back year, and they thought they could wait and wait and wait and wait and wait, and suddenly they tried to trade up, I think, and they couldn't get to the guy they wanted, and they were left with Donnell Pumphrey, and
who couldn't play.
Yeah, and it was a mystery, but I mean, it was a little bit of a mystery in that he had been so incredibly productive in college. The all-time leading rusher.
It was San Diego State, right?
Yeah, but if you looked at him, it was just like another guy that they'd had earlier named Lorenzo Booker,
Right.
If you remember him,
Yeah, Florida
they
State.
acquired him from the Dolphins, and they thought he was going to be really good. There was a time when they thought every short running back was Brian Westbrook, but there's a body type that Westbrook has and that Darren Sproles has, and these are guys that are really thick in their lower body. You know, they're not tiny little guys; they're short guys who are really built. And Donnell Pumphrey, much like Lorenzo Booker, was a skinny little guy, and he generated no power whatsoever, and he was very easy to arm tackle. And it just didn't. It was a shame. It really was. It was a huge miss on their part in a year when there were a lot of good running backs. What's that?
I said I really like a guy out of UCF named R.J. Harvey.
Okay. I don't know a thing about him, but
he's a smaller guy. He's really shifty. I don't know. It's a shame they don't need a running back because there's a lot of good ones. You got the 2 Ohio State kids.
Oh, I think they could end up taking one, but it won't be. I hope it isn't, first round or second round. But after that,
no,
sure.
I think the 4th or 5th round, I could see them taking a running back to bolster up the room. But I think they believe in Will Shipley. They believe in what he can be.
Yes.
Like in that final game, he showed you some promise.
Yes. Plus, he has great hair. Man, that guy.
He does have good hair.
Beautiful hair. I'm really envious. I wish I had beautiful hair. But that ship sailed.
No, unfortunately.
But I would not be at all surprised if they took a running back somewhere. I just don't think it'll be real early. And you're not going to get a superstar, but you can get a good running back in the 4th.
But you don't need a superstar. You have him. You have a superstar.
Yes. And you have Dylan, and that's if he's healthy, that's
a serviceable number 2. I don't need a big star running back in the draft.
Right.
My boy, Mr. R.J. Harvey from UCF, almost 1,600 yards, 22 touchdowns last year.
That's a lot.
6.8 yards per carry.
Yeah, that'd be a solid addition.
That is in I believe UCF is in the Big 12.
Yep.
So I have no idea anymore. You could.
I could be totally
wrong. I've given up on conferences at this point. I have no clue. If you told me Villanova was in the Big 10, okay.
Well, college sports have been ruined by the NIL. So,
well, they're going to do something about that, Robin. But I don't know if it's going to work. They're going to have a salary cap, and it's going to be real interesting. I have a son.
Well, they've had the solution for 20 years, and this is all the NCAA is doing. So it's all their fault.
Yeah.
Why can't it just?
I do think there's going to be there's going to be a little more sanity to it. Whether what they come up with survives a court challenge is another matter. But a lot of schools are going to be devoting a certain amount of the cap to football, a certain amount to basketball.
20 mil, right?
It's going to be something like that, and it's going to be real interesting to how schools allocate. Some people think, I mentioned Villanova, some people think that basketball coach from Maryland was willing to go to Villanova because Nova won't be spending 90% of its cap on football. Right. They'll have suddenly Nova will be back in the conversation again when it comes to paying basketball players. So I don't know. We'll see.
Digress.
Yes.
Championship.
But it's that time of year when we can digress.
National championship tonight for those interested. Florida.
Yeah. I'm not that interested.
I'm right there with you. Like, how
draft
is
season?
I can't. I could go for 2 hours about how college sports is broken.
Yeah.
Just absolutely broken.
And it's broken by the people who created it. So.
All right. Any last prospects? Any last closing thoughts before we?
Yep.
Let's see.
So these are my my top 5 offensive prospects I've looked into that I have interest in.
Okay.
Colston Loveland, 6'2", 245, 582 yards, 5 TDs. Got the national title a few years back. Mason Tyler, 6'5", 251, 546 yards, 2 TDs. a good, solid target is going to be able to help you out. I got Tyler Booker from Alabama. He's a guard. We're talking 6'5", 325. One of my favorite stats with him, he's only given up 2 sacks over 1,000 snaps. So that makes me happy. And also, he's a Bama guy.
Yeah.
Jana Saviana, another big guy, 6'5", 335. He's allowed 4 sacks over like 1,500 snaps. But there's something like it's another big guy you can work with. And this is just me kind of throwing it out there just because I think they will be in the market for a backup QB because I don't think Tanner McKee is going to be here long term because he has 1 year left on his contract. And I think the talent on him is just too much. And I think they'll probably get rid of him eventually. Jalen Milroe.
Okay.
Like Milroe. That's probably going to have to be a second-round pick.
I think he falls.
Yeah. I do not have any prospects to really. I like Walter Nolan as the first rounder.
Yeah, Les. There we go.
I don't have a lot. I haven't delved real deeply into this. I've read the names, but I don't. I see a lot of different things. I see people who don't really like Pierce, the edge rusher from Tennessee, off the field. Apparently, I don't know. Big Dom will sort that out for us.
There we go. Big Dom's going to tell us who we need to draft.
Yeah. But I did one thing I don't think we got to mention this last week because it hadn't happened yet, but we got everybody at the owners meeting. So Lurie talked, Nick talked, Howie talked. And that's always, they didn't say anything profound, I didn't think. I didn't like the Dallas Goedert discussion there at all. That really, you're right, it sounded exactly like they just closed the book there. But I did like, it seems like Lurie has very good, a good grasp of how the organization needs to move through this next period. And I think Howie does as well. And I think they're in a good I was really struck by how the reporters framed what Nick said about how you've got to change things up and you've got to, do things differently or everybody will pass you without explicitly quoting what he said 2 years ago, which was exactly the opposite of that, which turned out to be disastrous when Nick was talking about getting better, refining that one thing that you do well and concentrating on that and really leaning into, your dominance. So now he's going completely the other way. And I just kind of, okay, we'll see how this works. But I think he's right.
Between the head coach and the quarterback, we sure do get some strange press conferences here.
Oh, God. Yes.
I love it.
Yeah, we do. There's no doubt about it. We really do.
I mean,
what are you going to do? They're both, they're both really good.
They're both really good. Yeah. Remember, like the flower thing with the Sirianni?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I mean, he was money. He was 100% correct. You got to let it grow, man.
Yeah. So, Nick never impresses me with what he says, but his results impress me. So that's all he really needs. And those are my thoughts.
Those are your thoughts. All right.
You could be a bad talker, but a great shower.
Yes.
All right. That'll do it for this edition of Eagles Talk. Next week, we'll talk some defense. Keep you up to date as we move towards the draft. For Peter Young, Rob Brinkman, Les Bowen, have a good week, everybody.
Yes.